What's up, people, and welcome back to the Over and 8 Minutes podcast. This week is a bit different. What we're doing is we're taking a break while we get ready for season 2. Season 1 has been an absolute success, and I cannot thank every single one of you for everything you've done, whether you've listened, whether you've liked a post, shared, retweeted, all the works. Everything every single one of you has done has not gone unnoticed, and it has made my day. It's been so much fun making this podcast. The creative aspect of it, getting to sit and hear amazing stories from amazing people I knew before, and I knew their stories and wanted to help share them. People I'd never even spoken to before I got on this camera, sat down and listened to their stories, and I've heard some truly incredible things. So what we're doing over the next couple of weeks, we're going to do a montage. I'm going to get some of the best clips from each episode. It gives people a feeler. It's a nice chance for new listeners to get there, have a look and see what they can expect from our episodes, and then we'll be back in season 2. Brand new guests, all new topics. Some of the things will still be the same. We're still keeping the classic 3 questions. The under the team bus section will all stay. All good laugh, but we're going to get bigger, better. We're all going to keep growing together, and I need you guys to help me with it. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you for more live content in the next few weeks. So let's start things off. We're going to talk with George Taylor, and he talks about that horrific facial injury he got and how he had to get back up to Edinburgh and everything that ensued from there. Let's get going. So mate, I'm gonna ask you, now, feel free to don't answer this if you want, but so obviously you had the nasty injury against the Dragons this year when somebody chose to tackle you with their face on your face, which was bang out of order. How was it going before? Because you were, like we were saying, you were pretty much the name. You were the name in form, and what's it like coming back from an injury like that? Because it's not muscle, if that makes sense. When it's a muscle injury, you can be right, yeah, get the rehab done, get back in the gym, and then build it up. What's it like when you just have to sort of just sit and wait, and you go, "There's nothing to do here, but just wait"?
Yeah, well, I think I piled on the skin folds for a start, just sitting on the sofa for 8 weeks. But
the KD just rose massively.
Yeah, but no, down in Scarlets is when I got it, and it was one of the worst travels back home. I basically had the option to. It was during COVID, so I had the option to try and find a hotel and stay overnight, or just kind of withstand the pressure of the flight on the face. And I chose to take the flight because I did not want to spend a night in
Scarlets. Hard as nails. Chance I'd reel that flight.
But I think the doctor was also like, yeah, you'll be fine to get on the plane. Just I want to go home.
Straight invoice to Scarlet's HQ there.
Yeah.
One night in the Premier Inn, please, good sir.
But no, the team doctor was very good. He cleaned up after my illness issues after the head knock and drove me to the hospital at 1 o'clock in the morning after getting back to Edinburgh.
Bless him, man.
And then I had several scans on my head and face when I got to Livingston. But then between every scan, I would fall asleep. And at this point, the doctor was messaging me, are you staying in overnight? Because he couldn't come into the hospital with me. He was sitting in the car park in his car. Yeah. So he was messaging me, trying to call me, but I was having a kit between my scans. So I got to the doctor came back in the hospital, woke me up, and said you'll be staying overnight. So I think it got to 4:30 in the morning when I messaged the doc in the car saying you can go home, go back to your kids. I'm staying in overnight. So I think he was stuck in his car for about 3.5 hours.
Mate, bless it. What's his name? Team Doctor of Edinburgh. What's his name?
Mike Dunlop.
Mike, so you're a hero for that one, Mike. Well played.
I owe him one.
Yeah, that's definitely at least a box of beer at some point. You definitely owe him some Bill talk, Mike. That's definitely some up north. Got to go with him.
Definitely.
There we go. What story, George Taylor. What a gap, man. Can't thank him enough for being the first guest on the Over and 8 Minutes podcast. It was only fitting we started with him. Now let's move right on into the next one. This was an old friend of mine. I've known James for 10 plus years. James O'Neill was the first Canadian ever drafted to a US MLR team. This was in the draft that took place just a couple of months ago. Let's talk about it. We're going to go watch in the segment, and we're going to see how he got on when he found out he was drafted to the LA Guiltinis. Mate, so I want to talk about the draft itself. I don't want to ask you the stereotypical questions. I don't want to be like, oh, how was this? But like, so prior to the draft, the things that have interested me, because obviously you see these people having like parties and things like that, and everybody knew. So did you know beforehand that you were even in contention for the draft? Because I know obviously you have to declare for these things, but were you just thinking, if I get a contract somewhere, I get a contract? Were you like, I'm in the draft and I expect to be selected in the draft?
Yeah, so me personally, every player is different. Some teams reach out to players and kind of talk to them, said, yeah, we're going to look to take you in the first, second round. But for me personally, no one reached out. I kind of had, like hope to go somewhere, but to tell you the complete truth, I had no idea if I was going to get picked up. Had a hunch about a few teams because, like prior to the draft, I was, talked to a couple teams, nothing serious, but just a few conversations here and there. So I was hopeful to say the least, but I had no idea. And then when that pick came out for the Guiltinis, it was just unbelievable. I mean, I was just shocked, didn't know how to react, to be honest with you, just so excited. Because funny story, I was watching it on the live stream, and then our live stream cut out, so I had to go back and watch it on the Rugby Network, where it's just up there, you can just watch it at any time. And so we're just watching the draft, like going through every pick, but we were 20 minutes behind, and all of a sudden my phone started exploding, and I just didn't even look at it. I just muted it off because I just didn't want to know, right? Like I was eyes glued to the TV, just every pick, just seeing if it was going to go or not. And then LA came around and picked me. So yeah.
I love the thought of you being the last person to know you've been selected by the Guiltinis.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible. So were you with like mom and dad and things like that, or were you just chilling with like your mates and your roommate?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the folks are out of town at the moment. Just obviously super selfish. Like, why wouldn't they? I know I'm in the draft. Like, why wouldn't they? I was with my roommate Emerson Pryor. Shout out to the male nurse, absolute warrior. Just out there battling the front lines. But
I was gonna say, frontline warrior. What is it? The essential worker. That's what he is. Class.
There you go. I mean, he has a bit of an ego, so don't say that to him too much.
No, anybody that works in the healthcare industry stuff, all the time in the world for superheroes in my book.
Yeah, he's a great lad. But I was watching it with Emerson, and then with my girlfriend Lexi as well. So shout out Lexi Kronk. She wrote at UVic actually. Funny enough. So.
Hey, mate, if she's good, she can come on the podcast. All sports welcome, not just rugby on this podcast.
Hey man, she's has quality dad jokes. So I'm sure she'd fit in just well. I hear. So
yeah, you've seen the standard of my jokes, so she's better than me. So we'll get her on.
Oh yeah, come on, it's not saying much, Shenny. So come on. But I was just watching it with Emerson and Lexi, and then with Emerson's friend Rachel as well. So yeah, Manny, it was awesome. It was just really cool experience, and we're thinking about setting up the the Instagram live, because obviously everyone will be tuning in, and thousands of viewers, just like the NFL right now. But
I'd be there.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Appreciate it, man. But obviously, bit of more of a humble experience, sure, but still nonetheless awesome, really cool.
Mate, so cool. Like the thing. Like for me to say I know somebody that was in the draft, because we think of the drafts as such a big monumental occasion, and it is what it is. It's a life-changing event. So for you to get that, it's like, so how did the emotions hit when you eventually caught up with the live stream and you figured out where you were? Was it like a jump off the sofa of I'm in the draft, or was it a proper, almost the world sort of, in like the cartoons where the world disperses and they're just surrounded by black? Was it one of those where you're just like, I'm in my own head right now?
Yeah. I kind of, looking back on it, obviously you can't control how you're going to react to things. Mm-hmm. So I kind of, I don't regret it, but it just seemed like I was, because
cool, calm and collected, just like
just like
it was happening.
Oh yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. Yeah, no, but it's definitely what you said. Like the second one, just everything kind of like blacked out, and I was kind of like, and then everyone else was watching it with just jumped off the couch, and we're super excited. But yeah, I was just kind of like still taking it in. So yeah, crazy.
I still can't believe the way you found it, because obviously I'm a massive American football fan, so I see when they phone the draft, they phone them prior. So I can't believe that genuinely the first time you saw that you were a Giltini was when you saw George Killebrew just stood there reading your name and a photo of your own face. I would think I've been pranked. Like I genuinely would have gone. I'd have looked at my roommate and be like, "You've managed to knacker the feed and set something up."
Yeah.
So did the Giltinis phone you after it? Like, were they just like, "Hey, did you see the draft?" Or
yeah, well, funny enough, I actually, when I was watching the live stream, it cut out and I had to go back and figure it out again. My agent actually called me and he was like, "You watching the draft?" And I said, yeah, but I'm like behind, like don't say anything. And he's like, okay, but yeah, before he said that, before I said that, he said, "Do you want to know which team you're going to?" I said, no, just give me a second. So yeah, so I knew I got picked up by a team, but I didn't know which one. And then yeah, obviously Giltini's picked me, and then got a phone call from the manager about 10 minutes after I found out. So it took a little bit for them to reach out, but yeah, just basically when they're chatting away, it was just crazy, right? Just obviously I didn't have a lot to say. Try not to say anything stupid, but basically just listen. But yeah, it was just crazy phone call, just that's when I'd say that's when it probably really sunk in, when I got that phone call and kind of had that personal connection with the Giltinis. But yeah, it was just crazy, man. Just awesome.
Man, that's so cool. When do they get you down to start preseason and things like that? How long you got left in good old Cochrane?
Good old Cochrane. But yeah, so I'm actually talking to the team right now, trying to figure that out. But typically preseason usually starts in December or January. But I know the Giltinis have kind of like a few feeder teams that play in like local club comps that they might want me to come down and play in. So yeah, basically just figuring out when best time to come down is really. I mean, currently also with the Pacific Pride, we have a comp coming up here in the fall, which would be quite good to play in, and then last for a couple months. So might try playing that, and then maybe go down after that. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'll tell you when I know.
Amazing. I'll get the scoop again. Get the first exclusive, then get the scoop.
100%. There you go.
Mate, it speaks volumes to you, and I'm sure when all the famous faces watch the podcast that they'll see. But it speaks volumes to you that you're like, I still want to play my rugby. I want to make sure that I can stay healthy and stay on top of my game. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. Have all the big names been in touch yet? Have you had has DTH been blowing up the phone, getting in touch, or has Adam Ashley Cooper phoned up yet?
Yeah, I don't know. Adam, Mr. Cooper hasn't called me yet. I don't know why. Maybe
he's in travel. It's time zone, Australia, and that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's why he hasn't reached out yet. But no, luckily enough, DTH has reached out. So yeah, I actually met DTH when I was playing for Canada U19. We actually went on tour to Wales, and DTH was playing for the Scarlets at that point. So I had the opportunity to meet him there, and every once in a while, I kind of would reach out to him and pick his brain about a few things here and there. So obviously we're not best mates or anything, but I definitely know him prior. And yeah, he reached out and kind of said, "Hey man, congrats," and kind of gave me the scoop and everything. And yeah, so it's just really cool to just have guys like that reach out, and just makes you feel a part of it for sure. And just really appreciate him reaching out and making sure everything's okay. And if I need anything, he definitely said don't hesitate to reach out. So
amazing. And last but not least, about LA. Are you taking the cowboy boots and the bolo tie and the hat all the way down? Are you going to be Canadian? Is the Canadian cowboy going south, or is the Canadian cowboy retiring for a couple of years while he becomes an LA superstar?
Well, yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I don't know. Where we go,
you're very humble about all of this, bro. You're going to like the center of media world in LA, and you're just like, I'll just be chilling in this, just living my life.
Dude, I might have to start a memes account. Just all the things. Because 100% I'm gonna stick out like a sore thumb, man. Like rubbing with the locals in LA. But Yeah, obviously got to bring the boots and the bolo tie, man. You gotta stay true to who you are, and you can't forget about that. So yeah, I'll just maybe some people see it as me being a Marmite person, but where they like me or they won't. But yeah, no, I reckon they're coming for sure. Yeah.
Mate, if you're true to yourself, it's very difficult not to like somebody that's true to themselves. So I think you'll be fine. There we go. Imagine that. Imagine just sitting on your sofa having a rough idea that you knew you were going somewhere. Your agent doesn't let anything on, and then the champions of the league contact you and say you're going to play for us next year. What a turnaround that must be. Imagine being part of the Hollywood Hills, being a pro rugby player. I know for a lot of the listeners, that's going to be such a great dream. Right, now we're going to get into one of my best mates of all time. What a man. I've got to know him the past couple of years really, really well. And every time I pick up the phone to him, I stay there for hours. And it's just always a great chat. Now we're going to listen to Tom Lindsay tell us about the 07 final when he was playing for Wasps, about the probables versus possibles games and everything in between. Let's go ahead and have a listen. Right, tell me about Wasps. 11 years at Wasps, and you were. I don't know if you noticed yourself. You were one game shy of 130 games.
Yeah, I know.
They gave you the 129. Like,
yeah, look, I was happy I got the 129 to be honest.
Mate, you're 33. Just phone them up and go, right, just one game, first game.
Yeah,
like,
I'm still in contact with some of the recruitment there and stuff like that. It's one of those clubs that obviously you spoke to Callum Sturcker about it. It is a club where it's not about where you are; it's about the people who make that club. It's very nomadic, but yeah. So I joined Wasps in 2007, I think, and that season they won.
We'll go with it, yeah. 2007.
Yeah, we'll go with that, and yeah, it was something like that. And they won the Prem that year, and there's me rocked up. I was festively plump all year round. And I was turning into a tight head, so I turned up at the club in the academy. And in my academy at the time, you had Danny Cipriani, you had Don Waldock, Joe Simpson, you had Tom Rees, James Haskell. Like, there's the names and the caliber of players that were there were unbelievable. And then in the first team, Raf Ibanez, you had Tim Payne, you had Simon Shaw, you had Joe Worsley, Josh Lucy, Alex Kinn. Like some of these players, Mark Van Gisbergen. I could go on. The team was just, and your head coach was Ian. The director of it was Ian McGeechan, Craig Dowd, World Cup winner at tight head. Like it was a joke.
That must be class. Like the rugby experience, you can then, like, as a young player, you can call on and you go, like, you're shown how to be a rugby player effectively just by, like, you get it just by osmosis, just sitting in the room, I imagine.
Oh, exactly. Like you just kept your head, you just kept under the radar. Like you just hope you didn't bump into Lowell in the corridor because he was about 1,000 foot taller than you were. But like everyone was so accommodating. Everyone looked after you. Obviously, there was a huge amount of different characters. Sean Edwards was there, and one of the most unbelievable coaches, most passionate, heart on your sleeve coaches. You generally cared about you as a player. But if you got something wrong in training, you knew about it. And like he would always get involved in training as well. Like he'd always be boxing, so shadow boxing in the gym as well. So like you had all that kind of stuff going on. Obviously, you had international galore as well. That was that year, and as they got to the final, and the whole story behind Tim Payne unfortunately doing his MCL 2 games before the final, and then the Wasps were like, right, we've got 2 weeks before the final. Let's have a probables versus possibles game. Like who does that nowadays?
I remember hearing about this. Like I remember, like, because I must have been, I would have been much older than 10, and I remember, I think it's like one of my first rugby memories. When your heart sinks for somebody, that same thing? He comes out, it's like torn his MCL, and then you hear it's like probables versus possibles, and you're like, mate, surely the first 15 were just like, yeah, we ain't playing in that.
Yeah, no, mate, like, it was one of those games. I'm sure you've played them as well. Like,
I think you're really doubting my rugby ability here, mate.
No, there's always games where you're like, I will play an internal game, and you either get people that go real hard, or you get people that've got absolutely no interest. And like, always the young lads will go hard, but if you don't go hard, mate, you can end up getting hurt. So some of the players turned up late to the game. It was at Henley. I remember it was at Henley. Players turned up late, and it was one of those things. And after the game, I remember Craig Dowd and Ian McGeechan spoke to Phil Vickery, because obviously Phil Vickery was playing tight head, and the other loose head was Tom French. and they asked Vix like, how did Tom French go? Was he good? They're like, he was class. I thought he was really, really good. So the week going up to the game, Tom French hadn't really had much Premiership experience. Got the text saying he's starting at Twickenham in the final, and he was outstanding in the game. Had an absolute blinder, and he had Julian White in his back pocket. So it was things like that made that year so special. And obviously they were sponsored by Magnus at the time. So after the game, Magnus looked after us in a pub in Richmond I can't remember on the roundabout. I managed to sneak my 3 uni mates in, just 3 uni mates.
I love that. It's like, oh no, mate, I've got +1s. It'll be fine.
Because I lived in I was at university at Twickenham in St Mary's, so I got 3 of my mates and then one of their uncles just rocked up. I was like, yeah, come in. It's free Magnus all day. They've got pictures with all the first team players, the CEO of Magnus, and we woke up the next day going, it's one of those things like, did that actually happen? So yeah, it was an amazing day, and it's like stories like that you always hold close to your heart. Obviously, I wasn't involved, but I was in the actual academy squad still. But like,
you played in the Proles versus Possible, so that's like a whole.
Yeah,
I prepped the team. I've prepped the team. Like they're ready for.
Essentially, I trained with some of them. Yeah, that's basically I've got that somewhere.
If you were on bags a week before, you can take as much credit as the guy who scored the winning try. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if Sean Edwards is like bags 5 meter channel.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. No, exactly. And like I'll never forget as well. We were on the bus. Obviously, we'd won, and I think it was Johnny O'Connor. There was everyone outside was absolutely steaming, part of the crowd. I think he got a couple of just random supporters on the bus and just asked them to do a boat race. Like they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it, but they were forced to do it, and it was good fun. Like, that's the kind of stuff that was going on that day, and it was an unbelievable day. It was good to beat Leicester as well. A huge rivalry there, and I do mention that to Craner quite a bit whenever I see him.
As you should. You should just put it in. You should just put it in the blokes chat every now and again. Obviously, with Joe and Tom being massive fans, just every now and again, just go. Remember the 07 final? What a day!
Oh yeah, what a day! Thing is, though, whenever I mention it to Craner, he just shows me that video of him kicking that penalty over in the Heineken Cup final when Martin Williams shanked his kick over and over again. That penalty kick.
That was the one up here, was it not? The one up at Murrayfield.
It might have been. Yeah, all I remember is Craner giving it the finger when he knocked it over. Exactly. He does make sure everyone sees that every couple of years.
Good. Oh mate, well, as you should. Like you've got like you said, memories are what stay. Like people don't remember games; they remember memories. There you have it. Tom Lindsay telling us all about that epic 07 final with Wasps. What a day. I imagine that would have been such a sight. Imagine getting your mates in from uni to go bevying with the Premiership champions. Doesn't get much better than that. Now we're going to move on to one of my guests of all time. This was Hannah. I had never met Hannah. I'd never spoken to Hannah prior to this conversation. I think I'd had about 3 Instagram messages with her. Honestly, what a woman, massive inspiration. She's about to go and do great things off. They've got a game against Japan in November. I've got tickets. I hope to see you all there. We're going to get it sorted. It's going to be a great time. Going to be a good game. Hannah's about to represent her country at the Olympics, how it feels just to represent your country in any sort of aspect as a female athlete, as a pioneer of our sport as well. So we're going to get into that right now. Right, Hannah, I'm going to get started. So you're feeling good. You're living the best life. Hannah Smith, you are a GB Olympic athlete representative. How does that sound, and how does it feel when someone says that to you?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy actually. Like I just never ever thought that this would be where I would be in life, but yeah, it's very, very exciting. Yeah, I'm very excited to get there and get going. But yeah, still doesn't feel real when people say that to me.
No, not at all.
Not quite.
Did you never have that in the plan when you first picked up the rugby ball? You're like, yep, I can see me grand stage.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it hasn't been in for very long, but I think after Rio, I was like, right, I really want to do this. Like that looks amazing. So yeah, sort of worked hard for it from then.
It's a good insight to have, like a sort of 4-year plan. Like I don't know how people plan for 4 years. Was there how did it go? Did somebody say we want, not say you specifically, but like was there coaches that were like we want this many Scotland people and we're going to work, and you had to be like, I'm going to make sure that's me? Or was this just all a personal thing of, this is the Hannah Smith attitude, I'm going to go and crush it?
Yeah, it was more like a personal goal, really. We didn't have any idea how many Scots would be involved, and and Welsh as well. But it was great that obviously Scott was the head coach. That kind of gave us a bit of confidence because obviously he knows us as well. So it was quite good having him involved. And we've all got quite good relationships with him, so it's great to like have him there. But yeah, it was mostly personal. Like I wanted to do it. I thought it would be incredible, and so far it has been.
Good. So what does the Olympics mean to you as a person? Not just Olympic rugby, like the Olympics. Like what do you think of when you feel the Olympics? What emotions come into play?
Yeah, when I think about it, even when you're not involved, I think it's just something that everybody watches and everybody gets obsessed with, and it's quite emotional because it's competing as GB seems so special. Yeah, I every single time it's on, I'm very emotional watching it. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like to be there. But it's so important. It sort of unifies the nation, which is really nice. So yeah, it's just an incredible thing.
I know, it's the time anybody comes together. As we were saying before we came on air, we having a bit of a mock about English heritage coming up in Scotland, but then for that like 4 or 5 weeks it's GB. It's like Murray at Wimbledon. As soon as he's in Wimbledon, all the English are like, oh, he's British. And then any time after, he's always a Scottish tennis player.
Yeah, when he's doing well, he's British. Yeah,
exactly. So when you got into the extended squad, before that, I want to talk. So now we're talking about the Olympic ceremony. I really want you to be one of the. You know how you have like the calm and composed, like the walked out, and it's like I've done this a million times before. Even though it's like we can see you're faking it to the back seat, you've never walked around. Are you going to be one of those where it's just I'm cool, calm, personified? Are you going to be I've got the GoPro out, I've got the phone out, I'm recording everything, I'm dancing along to the music?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to get the opportunity to go to the ceremonies just with everything that's going on in the world. But I think if it was me, I'd probably be just crying at the back. Just overcome with emotion. Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to keep myself cool and collected.
No, that's the best way to be. It's like we want to see people with passion. Like you want to see the group of people taking endless selfies as they do their walk round.
Yeah.
And you want to be the person, like when you see the athlete and then the camera pans to them, they clock that they're on the camera, and all you just see is like the high mum and the wave. That's what everybody wants.
Yeah. No, that would definitely be me.
No, I'd be making the most of it. Like I'd have it as like Instagram display picture. The next 20 posts would all be it. Everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So I can't bring you on in the middle of the Olympics because this is probably going to go bang smack around the time we're playing the sevens. I'm going to move things around and get you on. How does it feel being in the extended squad for like when you're there and you go, Jesus, I've actually got a shot at this. Like you were in it was Dublin before, wasn't it? Before we went to LA. You went to LA. I'll just chuck myself on there. Yeah, we went to LA. Team manager.
Yeah.
Moral support. Yeah, moral support. Just there for moral support. You got into the extended squad. How does it feel when you're in that like 25 to 30 group? Or I don't know how many people got to go in the end, but did you get to the point where you go, geez, I've actually got a real shot at this? Like not to be rude and swear on it, but did you just think, fuck me, like I'm here?
Yeah, I mean that was crazy. Like, it was so intimidating going. Like there was like 22 of us initially, and obviously great to have the 6 Scottish girls involved. Have a bit of a home from home, but yeah, I mean turning up to Loughborough for the first week, I think we were all very, very nervous. Obviously the English girls have been full-time pros, they've been on the series, they're very, very good sevens players. It was very intimidating coming from Scotland, and we're obviously not quite up there yet, so it was very intimidating, but it just the environment was great. The girls were so supportive of each other. We all pushed each other every week to get better, and we've all developed so much over the past few months. So that's down to the environment and down to the girls that we were around. So yeah, intimidating at first, but we soon settled in and made friends, and it's been great.
What's squad life like beyond the bits we got to see on Rugby Highlights TV and Twitter, and Rona Lloyd showing us scoring 3 tries and this and that and dominating the park?
Yeah, it's mostly us just playing tuck like board games.
Save that. See that. I actually have a question asking what it is because I have no idea what it is. So we're gonna save that. So how is it like? When did they have you like rooming? Was it like you're partnered with them, or like did they do like a good job of splitting up the nations, or were they just like?
Well, initially we weren't allowed to have roomies with obviously with all the COVID stuff going on. They were really strict about it. So initially, the first several weeks we were roomed alone, and had quite a lot of our meals in our rooms as well. So the only real time that we had to socialise was on the pitch, which is good because everybody's like excited and happy and having a great time. So it's actually quite a good time to get to know each other, but also you missed out on the sort of camaraderie behind the scenes as well. But I think saying that, we did really well to actually bond despite that. Like we bonded really quickly and we all got on really well, and it's a really good vibe in the camp. So even though we were rooming alone, we still managed to sort of make friends and enjoy it and make the most of it. So yeah.
Amazing. Right, last bit about the Sevens. I want to talk about LA. So you're now in the squad, you've been announced, everybody's seen it all over Twitter. You've got people like me message you on Instagram saying, I'm so proud, I knew you'd do it, never in doubt. And then, so what's it like when they go, you're in the middle of isolation, you've been stuck in Scotland for a year and a half, and somebody goes, taking you to California, you're going to LA. Obviously, you couldn't go out and explore everything, but what's it like as the squad going, I'm going as a GB squad to play in a Sevens tournament, warming up for the Olympics? How's that?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had the Dublin tournament the week before, and tensions were running a bit high that weekend, I think, because it was the final weekend for people to sort of show what they could do before selection came out. So when selection came out, I think just because the build-up had been a bit stressful, I didn't realise how much it had been weighing on my mind. And then when we found out, obviously, that we were selected and we were going to LA, that was just incredible. Like, it was just such a relief. And then I think it sort of kicked in the following week when we went to training, and then we had the kit out. So we had the kit out the day before we went to LA, and that was unbelievable. Like, just ridiculous amounts of kit everywhere. Just
free stash is always a winner for any rugby player.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just treated like queens, walked in just giving all this stuff. It was insane. And then we obviously had the excitement of LA as well. Very, very hot, very sweaty, but very fun nonetheless.
Oh, LA, I got so jealous looking at your Instagram. LA looked good. I remember we discussed it before we came on air. It was that photo of you all in your it was gifted swimsuits, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah,
was it all balls that sent it through?
No, budgie smugglers, yeah.
Oh, shout out budgies. Wish I could rock a pair. Yeah, wish I could rock a pair. Send me a Tokyo pair. But no, if you ever want motivation, this is to the listeners out there. If you ever want motivation, find this photo that Hannah was either tagged in. Yeah, that Hannah was tagged in, and you'll see nothing but six packs. You'll immediately go to your biscuit cupboard and throw the whole thing out. Yeah, not a chance.
Insane.
All you need is an LA temperature and a rugby sevens diet and nutrition, and you'll be fine.
Ideal.
There you go.
Just like that.
Good. Right. Last thing I'm going to talk about: are mum and dad getting fake fringe merchandise made up yet? Because it is the most iconic fringe, and it's going to be everybody that they talk about at the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, my mum also has a little fringe as well, so she rocks that too. But
you've copied your mum. You've stole your mum's look.
Well, basically, yeah. But yeah, I think they should get on that. I think that's a good moneymaker.
I do, especially just get it. Fringes for everyone. I can't wait to see Scotland next time. It's just gonna be a little selection of people all just with little blonde fringes.
I'd love it. That'd be so good. I think the Japanese would enjoy that as well.
It does seem like a Japanese kind of thing, doesn't it? It's like they go mental for paraphernalia.
Yeah, they love it. So I think that would be quite a good thing to have.
There you go. Well, that's how you take all seriousness out of being a GB representative with Sam Matthews. There you have it. Hannah Smith telling us all about representing the GB down there playing sevens out in Japan during COVID, all the dilemmas that ensued, all the things that came through it, trying to make sure that you got into the selection, trying to get up and down during COVID across the UK, out to LA, everything in between. And now finally we're getting it off with one of the most inspirational men I've ever had the pleasure of chatting to, Bruce Aitchison, the voice of Murrayfield. And that's exactly what he's going to tell us about in this segment. He's going to talk about being the host of the suites on the Scottish days, making sure everything's running smooth. And not only that, he's going to tell us a few cracking stories about his best pal, Doddy Weir. Right, let's go it, and then that'll be the end, and then I'll see you guys all for the end of the podcast. I'm going to move on. I want to ask you about hosting and being the voice of Murrayfield, because that's where I met you from, is where I heard your voice from. And then it's when I put the two and two together and went, you must know the guy that voices Murrayfield to produce with Sean. He went, yeah, he's one of my best mates.
Yeah,
So
it's.
How did that come about, hosting? Being a host and the after dinner speaker, how did that all come about?
Well, I've always wanted to be an after dinner speaker. When I was a kid in at Gala Academy, my best mate Pete Coburn, his dad was a Gala YM man, and Gala YM had the big dinners in Gala when I was a kid. So the volunteer hall, which is right in the middle of Gala, seats, I don't know, 300 and more people. And Gala YM would have these big proper rugby dinners with, you know, rows and rows of tables, and then a big top table at the top of the hall. And kids like me, because of Pete would get his mates to be the glass collectors.
Oh, I know those. Like we do them at the town festivals. The rugby boys used to do the Beltane festival.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. So and then you got great tips at the end, because everybody after they'd had their kitty just gave you what was left, and you split that. And at the end of the night, you got a pint or a couple of pints, and it was just. But the thing I loved was standing listening to these guys up the front hold court of all of those and make them laugh. And I just always thought I'd love to do that. Like I would, as you can guess, I would love to have been a stand-up comedian or a presenter or a something. And but I watched these guys and I thought they are amazing. I just loved it, and ridiculous, and they were rude, but some of them had caps and some of them were British Lions, and I would love to do that. And when I was in Hong Kong, because I said yes to things, I got to do bits and pieces of hosting, and because they were always looking for people who were available and free, that tended to be me. So I volunteered for things, and I look back on it now and I think, God, I would have been hopeless. One of the first things I had to do was with Joe Bugner, and Joe Bugner made fun of my first name being really short. And I was like, hang on, Bruce, Joe. And it's like the whole place just exploded, and I thought Joe Bugner was going to knock me out. And a guy came up to me at the Sevens and was like, "You're the guy that took the mickey of Joe Bugner." And I was like, "Oh no!" But that was quite cool. And then I came home, and you know, Gala Red Triangle did a dinner, so for their under-16 team, and I went and did that, and I think I did the Wanderers under-18, and then I got asked about that, and I did a Burn Supper, and I said yes.
Oh, you'd be magical at Ode to a Haggis. I'd love to see you do.
No, see, I can't. I do Toast to the Lassies, but I need to do the Address the Haggis. I'd love to do Tam O'Shanter. I just need to put some time into it, because I would love to be able to do that, because that's another one that I've seen people do and thought, I'd like to do that. Actually, the first Burn Supper I ever went to, I was speaking at. I'd never been to a Burn Supper, and then I got asked to do the Toast to the Lassies. But I just said yes to everything, and I was always of the feeling that, well, I probably thought I was doing okay, but actually I needed all those to become anything like better. And then I started to get asked to do that rugby club, and then this rugby club, and I just loved it. And I loved it because it's not like stand up where that's what you're there to do. You're there to talk, and because those people tend to be people who they know where you're coming from, and they're not necessarily there. There has been heckles, but not many. They tend to be there to have fun, so they've already bought into the fact that you're here to entertain me. So I'm gonna get on board with that. So I love that feeling and that atmosphere. And then things started to pick up, and I started to get more dinners, and I was spending quite a lot of like April to June speaking Friday nights, Saturday nights, and I just loved it, and I loved meeting people, and I bumped into, I'd been a rugby club, and guys would come up that I'd played with or against, or we all knew somebody that knew somebody, and I just felt such a sense of belonging, and I loved talking. And then I think I started to get better. There was things I said and I now regret, but I didn't realize it at the time, and now I think I'm probably a bit more not polished because I'm not. Scotty Glynn, who's a big hero of mine. Scotty Glynn was a professional after dinner speaker for the Pans. Just an amazing guy, raised heaps of money for charity. Sadly died a couple of years ago, and I really miss him. He's actually up here. He's looking over me. I've got a picture of him up here, and he's watching me now. A big toothy grin, a toothless grin, I should say, watching me. And Scotty kept saying to me, "You need to lose the cards. You need to lose the card," because I always have cue cards with just a little bit on them to remind me. I said, "Scotty, I can't." He's like, "What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? Just get rid of them. Just get rid of them." And I've never done it. And whenever I speak, I'll get a wee bit emotional because I'm thinking about him, because he gave me chances at dinners, and one of the best things that I would get would be a phone call, and it would be, "Hello, is that Bruce? Yeah, it's this guy from this place. Scotty Glynn said that I should get you to speak at our dinner." Like, I would grow 10 feet tall because getting Scotty Glynn's after dinner stamp of approval was the best. And I've spoken with professional after dinner speakers, and sometimes I didn't like that because they do actually have a connection with the people they're speaking to. But they're good and they're funny, but they're not for me. I've heard international rugby players who are great and can tell stories about being international rugby players, but I can't do that. So I can tell stories that the people who are sitting there listening to kind of get, because they've possibly been in the same situation. And I've had guys come up to me going, "I know that story because my mate was the." Those are the wee magical moments that keep you going. So I've still not answered your question yet. So what? I was coaching.
I forgot we're on a podcast. I've just been listening to you for an hour.
I know. I'm sorry.
Don't ever apologise for being funny. Don't ever apologise for being funny.
I was coaching, and I love coaching. I love clubland, but I got caught a wee bit in career, and I was having to commute. I was living in Edinburgh. I've got 2 kids, other things to be doing, but I was working in Hawick, so I was bushed, and I couldn't commit to club coaching, and I had to make the decision. I'd got the chance to be a deputy head teacher, and I wanted to do it, and I love Hawick, and I'd been at Hawick as a head of PE, and I felt I could help it get better, and I wanted to do it, but it meant that I couldn't do club coaching. So that I was sad about that. But what I could do was something that didn't have necessarily the responsibility. So at the time, Johnny Petrie was the CEO of Edinburgh Rugby, and I know Johnny kinda, and I coached at Dundee. I actually know his old man better than I know Johnny, because his old man used to do the car park at Dundee High School, and we'd be in the bar after the game. Great guy, brilliant, proper salt of the earth clubland legend. And I got in touch with Johnny, and I said, "Look, I'm not going to have a club commitment. I live at the back of Murrayfield. I'll be at the games mostly anyway. If there's anything that I can do, let me know." Within no time at all, I was in his office having a chat with him and a great guy, Stuart Martin, who are both now at Ulster. And they said, Johnny had this list of things, and he was like, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" I was like, "Listen, Johnny, I'll do any of it. I'll do none of it. I'd love to be involved. I've got a lot of enthusiasm for the place. I'll probably be here anyway. You decide what you want me to do." So it got kind of brought into a bit of sharper focus, but they were trying to make a change to the match day experience, and they'd brought in Callum Gallagher from Fourth One, who I love and is a fantastic, brilliant DJ, real pro, funny, daft wee Raj, but I love him to bits, and we get on really. He's been really kind to me. And Barry Wilkins, who's the Hibs stadium announcer, so we got on well, but Baz now is no Edinburgh because he's got so much going on. So Callum and I were doing it. So the idea was they did all the decent stuff, but they didn't know anything about rugby. So when the whistle went, I took over, because I knew that Duan van der Merwe was wearing number 11, and that Munster did this, and this was a try, and I loved that. But I had to be at Murrayfield for the briefing. So I had to be at Murrayfield 2.5 hours before kickoff. So I've got 2.5 hours. So for me, that was great, because I spoke to the TV guys and the photographers, and I went and got a cup of coffee in the media bit, and I just annoyed everybody. So I said to Edinburgh, "Listen, how about I get folk and I do an interview in the clubhouse beforehand, because I'm here anyway. I might as well do that." So Oh, right. Okay. So we set that up. So I started to interview. So obviously guys who weren't playing. So I interviewed them before. And then I got a little bit more responsibility. So I got to interview the mascots on the touchline and the charity and, some of the non-players. We did that in the bowl and that was quite cool. And then it was like, right, after the game, I'll interview players off the pitch. So they would bring a player off the pitch and I would do an interview, and then I maybe got cockers as well, and then I started to take them into the business club and stuff. And it all just came from me saying, listen, can I have a microphone, please? And they were kind of quite happy. And the thing I've always said about the stuff I do at Edinburgh and at Murrayfield, I'm just a supporter with a microphone. I'm not Doogie Vipond. I'm not Ailey Barber. I'm just a supporter with a microphone. And people quite like my enthusiasm. And I've got in trouble for a couple of things I said when Tommy Seymour, when I got to do Scotland games. So my first Scotland game was Fiji. Autumn test, which I was buzzing about because I love Fiji, and Bill Mata scored, and I did my Edinburgh try for Fiji, number 8, big Bill Mata, and nobody cheered. So there's 67,500 people going, why is he getting excited about Fiji? But Tommy Seymour scored a hat-trick. And I said, and third try for Scotland, number 14, Tommy Seymour, the beers are on Tommy. And I got a row for saying the beers are on Tommy, which I was a bit sad about. But the Edinburgh stuff, like somebody's spending 10 minutes on the naughty step, and then I got a bit of kudos from some of the media guys because there was a TMO decision, and I always have a chat with the 4th and 5th officials, and I'll say to them, what question has he asked? So I announced that referee is asking try or no try or whatever it was, and the media guys were Andy McGeady tweeted that great to have a stadium announcer who understands the game and keeps the crowd informed. So I was like, yeah, that was me. So I like, and I get on folks' nerves. There's people that probably roll their eyes when I was announcing to an empty stadium. Doogie Vipond gets a bit upset because he thinks I turn it up as soon as the TV coverage starts. But I did one just there when
I was going to say, I remember the one I think you're about to talk about as well, when Jim was going after it on Premier Sport.
Oh no, they rip it all the time. I had an email from Rory Lawson saying, "Can you please shut up?" But I was, when I did Ulster, just in the last game there when Madigan kicked the winner, but when Edinburgh scored and then Blair was lining up the conversion, he misses the conversion, so it's 31-all. And there's 50 people in the stadium, but I did the announcement of unsuccessful conversion for Edinburgh, and it's Edinburgh 31, Ulster 31. And I got this big laugh, and one of my heroes, Ian Rankin, that I coached with at Dundee, he turned around and just gave me a laugh and a big thumbs up, because I just like to muck about, and I'm lucky that I get to do it with a microphone in my hand, and I can't wait to get into the stadium. And Edinburgh have been really kind to me and given me chances, so they then started to do hospitality, which they hadn't done. So I was doing hospitality. So before the game, I was interviewing people on the stage, and and then sometime I wasn't always. I then lost the announcing bit, which I was sad about. But then I started to pick that back up again, just doing between the whistles again. So, and then I've Doddy Weir, who we all love, and I love him to bits. And Doddy's known me for a long time because of where our families are from. And when Doddy was beginning to decide he was going to wind down, he was host of the Thistle Suite at Scottish Internationals, and the Thistle Suite can have over 500 people in it. And in discussion with James Nicholson, who was then head of hospitality and has now moved to Australia, they were looking for somebody to take over from Doddy. And they went through this person, but obviously the bigger the name is, the more in demand they are of things like TV and radio. And I then got a message for James saying, can we have a chat after an Edinburgh game? And he'd seen some of the stuff I'd done at Edinburgh games. So I met Jim, and he said, listen, here's the story, but you'll know what it's like. I was like, I've not been to hospitality. So I got invited to the hospitality for the Fiji game that I announced that, and got to see what Doddy did. And I'm just sitting there thinking, you want me to do this? Like, are you kidding me on? This is Doddy Weir's show. So the way it worked was Doddy and I did it together. And I was just Doddy's like he just took the mick, but we had a brilliant laugh, and he was so kind to me, and we did so much together. And we interviewed people. We both got in trouble, actually. We had Xander Fagerson, and I forget who the other squad member was. But the week before, Matt Fagerson had lasted 20 minutes against Fiji and gone off injured. And the following week against, I don't know, South Africa, we had Xander and another player, but I forget who it was, on stage before the game. So we've got 500 people there for hospitality, and Doddy and I on stage with 2 Scotland squad members. So I said, Xander, so your brother lasted 20 minutes last week for Fiji, and you've got a big moon boot on. Are all the Fagersons soft? And the place laughed, and Xander was like, oh no, my sister's quite hard, and we just had a bit of crack about it. And then Doddy turned, and I wish I could remember who it was, but Doddy turned to somebody else and went, so why are you not on the squad? Is it because you're not very good? And of course the whole place just laughed. So, but then the 2 of us got in trouble. And now we have to just be not careful, but we just need to maybe be a little bit more respectful to the players. But Doddy then had his last game against Wales in the Six Nations, and we had a big send-off for him, which was an amazing thing to be part of. And then it kind of became mine, and that's. I feel very, very honoured and privileged to do it. I've met some amazing people with Brian Habana and young Johnny Beattie, who is a class act, and I've met lots of good people, and one of the things that makes me pinch myself a wee bit when I come off stage, or I was Doddy's photographer. People would come and want their picture taken with Doddy, and I would get the phone and I would take the picture. And then these people have come up to me and said, "Can I get a picture?" And I was like, "Yeah, who with?" And they're like, "No, with you. Like, you're like, your happiness is egg shaped." Yeah, but why do you want? Like, what's that? But it's if it means something to them, then that's cool, and I'm happy with that. And while it feels uncomfortable, and I'm not sure who they're showing that picture to, but go for it. And that's a bit like I was saying before, when you meet somebody, that's the only little bit of snapshot they're getting of you, and I kind of want them to leave with a decent impression, selfishly for my own bit, but also hopefully they've left feeling a little bit better for themselves as well.
No, I think I backed it. Yeah, exactly that. What you said. I mean, Doddy was the guest speaker at my last rugby dinner I was at all those years ago. It must be about 5+ years ago now. And I remember, and it was like you said, it was the Doddy Weir show. Like, you could have heard a pin drop, because everybody's like, it's like all the forks went down, all the cups went down, nobody went to the bar. It was you sit and listen to Doddy for an hour, and I thought, like, it was amazing. He didn't know a single person in the room, and he had a joke for each one of the people, and he just went through them. And I think it was like he managed to say something that you'd forgotten about yourself. It was that funny.
He's just the thing that I think people have forgotten is that Doddy was a really, really good rugby player. Yeah, because he's now become Doddy Weir. He's become this persona, rightly through a lot. But people, I think that there are people who never knew Doddy Weir as a rugby player because they don't remember the 97 Lions. They don't remember Doddy playing for Newcastle or playing for Scotland. They don't remember that. Doddy was a hell of a good rugby player. So he'll tell you, if you spend long enough with him, he'll tell you he scored 2 tries against the All Blacks. But I can't tell those stories, but Doddy is able to tell them without an ego, without a look at me, everybody. They're almost matter of fact, but he likes to bring them up every now and then. And he would take the mickey out of me for never having done anything, which is absolutely true. But he doesn't do it. He's not having a pop. It's just part of Doddy's teasing, and it's actually probably a sign of not necessarily respect, but he would, like I say this sometimes to people, I only make fun of people I like.
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise it feels like you're being nasty. Whereas if you make fun of people, hopefully you can take it back as well. And Doddy, we just had some brilliant moments when we weren't in the room with the 500 people, moments where, it was just nice to be with somebody like that, not necessarily Doddy Weir, just with a nice guy who made me feel better. And made me a better host and speaker, and probably a bit non, I don't know, maybe more compassionate, but more understanding, and a man of immense pride and determination. And I love the guy very much, and I know I played rugby with his other brother, his younger brother Tom, and I've known Chris since he was a kid, and Kirsty, his sister, is just off her nut, crazy but fabulous, just great people, and they leave the people they're with in a better place.
Oh well, he's an inspiration behind the first question. The first question when I went, "How are you?" Because I remember it was at the same club dinner. He was like, "Oh, how you getting on?" And I was like, "Oh, this is that. We lost today. We did this. We did." And he went, "I didn't ask you about the game. I asked how are you?" And it was straight away, and it was something like that.
Yeah, he's in Doddy. I could talk about Doddy Weir for a whole podcast, but Doddy, when people wanted a photo, he asked their name, where are you from? He then probably sometimes made up that he knew somebody for there, or he'd been there before, or he remember. Like he had a little moment that, a bit like you're saying, when people left, they'd had more than just a selfie with Doddy Weir, and that's probably one of the difficult things for people like Doddy, because everybody knows Doddy Weir. Doddy Weir doesn't necessarily know everybody, but when he's spoken to you, he gives you the impression that he did, and he took time to use how are you, not how's the thing that's revolving around you, but just how are you, and where are you from, and he leaves you a smile, and there's a wee joke, and he'll have a pop at almost anything, as well as himself, and that's another thing that endears him to people, because he's willing to have a chuckle at himself.
Oh, exactly. There you have it, folks. That's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening to this montage episode. If you go through, then maybe 2 or 3 more of these. We'll see how it goes. Leave your feedback. I want to know how it's going. If you really like it, then it's something we can look to incorporate in every couple of weeks once we get a good couple of episodes out. In the meantime, thank you guys very much. As usual, leave a like rating, leave a review on Apple and Spotify. Everything and anything helps, as you've been doing for the first 4 months, helping the podcast grow. It's only going from strength to strength. As I get better at this, as the guests become a bit more familiar with what we're doing and everybody's a bit more comfortable, the only way is up. And thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for supporting it. And we'll see you all next week. Remember, guys, if you're going to be nice, leave comments, talk to people, be friends on the internet. It's a great place when everybody uses it the right way. Stay safe and see you next week. Bye.